Hello everyone, Julia Sheehan here, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Tonight I'd like to show you how I created this little card. I was having a bit of fun trying out all different things with the Royal Peacock stamp set, and just the colours weren't quite right in my mind for the peacock. So I started playing with Pacific Point, Granny Apple Green, colours like that, and I really liked the way it came up. So that's why I put this card together tonight using those colours on it instead. And unfortunately I don't think it actually shows up as well on here as to how you can bring that lovely colour into this card. But anyway, I'll do my best to show you what I've done. Now I've got a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock, 5 7/8 of an inch by 8 1/4 inches, and I'll just burnish that. I've only folded it up to now. And then you're going to need a piece of the Blueberry Bushell foil, and that will be 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 5/8 of an inch, which is what I actually use for this one. I have made it just slightly smaller, about a 1/16 of an inch smaller all around for this card, just to see how it looks, just doing a bit of experimenting. I actually experimented on the sentiment too, because on the first card I did this with, I actually did it with the Granny Apple Green rather than doing what I've done with it here, and I didn't like it as much. It was just a little bit too strong for the card, and it didn't offset the peacock well, but I just felt that did. So, I mean, it's entirely your own opinion, but that's how I felt about it. Now, I will be using the dies from this stamp, well, a die from this detailed peacock stamp set, and that is this one here. I've already put this through, and I'll just see if there's any other little bits to come out of that. And I've done this on thick Whisper White. I just like using the thick Whisper White for a lot of my projects. I mean, it's only your own preference really, but it's just something that I like. I like the consistency of the paper, so that's why I use it. Okay, and we're just going to get that out of our die. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? That is really stunning. I've made a few different cards over the last couple of days with this stamp set. I really toyed around with a lot of ideas, but I just wasn't completely satisfied with what I was doing, and then I came up with this one and I quite like it. And then there's another card that I've done as well, which maybe I'll put up next week. Okay, so I've made this card as a dimension, which you can't really see unless, well, I'll get the one I did with the Pacific Point, unless you actually turn it on its side, and you can see that it's actually standing up from the card. It's got dimension, but I didn't use dimensionals. Instead, I cut out Pacific Point peacocks and I've layered them so that that's going to give me my dimension. And then I've done the one for the top here, and I did put the sentiment up on dimensionals, but I just think that that looks so much nicer and it's nice and solid on the card. And I did that by using Pacific Point and Granny Apple Green. A bit of a rebel, I've gone against the colours that they've actually put out for this peacock, but it's just something that I particularly liked. Got my daubers here, and what I did, not too strong, so the top of this peacock is definitely a beautiful blue, as they normally are, unless of course they're the albino ones, which I had the chance to see. Perfectly pure white it was. It was the most stunning peacock. It belonged to some twins that I used to teach when I was a teacher teaching primary school, and it was one that they owned, and it was absolutely stunning. A massive bird, and you can imagine what this looked like when it was all spread out and it was the most perfect white. It was just so beautiful. But mostly they come with colour. So then all I've done is just put random bits of colour on this part of the body and just blend it into the blue a little bit there. Coming up into it. And like if you've actually seen a peacock for real, they do have this blending of colour and the shine. It's almost like an iridescent sort of colour on them. Absolutely beautiful birds these are. They make the most dreadful noise, but they're beautiful birds. One of my sons had a friend whose parents kept peacocks on their property, and the screaming that these birds do is unbelievable. Such a beautiful bird, and yet the noise that comes out of it is horrific. Okay, now that one's a little bit darker than the other one I did. So it just, you know, it's how it comes out on the day kind of thing. You can blend that as much as you want to. Mix your colour as much as you want to. It doesn't matter at all. Okay, you can see you've got some beautiful colour coming out in that bird there. So then what we're going to do is we're going to layer them. Now this doesn't have to be belaboured, because as long as you're gentle, just run your glue, hold your peacock completely still so that it's not going to slide around in any glue that goes on the paper behind. And then just pick it up from that spot and layer one on top. And they layer up beautifully. Look at that. Okay. So then we find a different spot. We don't put it back on that glue there. And do it again. Just run it across, just gently. That's all we need to do. And then we're going to do that again. Now you can do as many layers as you want, doesn't matter. I have chosen to do 4. I want it to sit up quite a bit, so that's the only reason I'm doing 4. And then I've got my thick whisper white for the top. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to move that again, just keeping it out of the glue so it's not going to stick there. And we're going to do it again. Grab my piece here. I like that this is a delicate but solid dye at the same time, so that you can layer it so easily. You don't have to like fiddle around with little bits or anything. And then my last bit, I'm just going to find another spot where I haven't got some glue and do exactly the same thing. And we're just going to put our top layer on now, and then we can just set that aside to dry. Okay. And then we put our peacock that we coloured on top. There we go. It's that quick and easy to do. There we go. So I'm just going to set that aside to dry for a minute. I'll just move all this out of the way, and then we'll do the sentiment for it. Now again, I'll try and get a lot of that off my fingers before we start. I'm just going to, I might get a fresh piece. I'm going to get just a piece of Whisper White again, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing to it what I did to the Peacock. Just do a corner of the card, this cardstock, just off cut. You can do it as dark or light as you like. My Peacock's quite dark, so I think I might try and keep this fairly light. A few little splotchy bits in there. Didn't do that particularly well, but anyway. The sentiment will go over the top. Just a little bit more blue in there. There we go. That'll have to do. Now, I've used the Stamparatus for this, and I've already put my sentiment in the corner. Sorry, that light's just in the wrong spot, isn't it? Okay, so my sentiment is there, and it's the same sentiment, and it says, "So very proud of you." And I've actually embossed this sentiment, if you can see there. So, first time round, I'm doing it with Pacific Point, and this is where I always tip the stamp pad the wrong way and usually get it all over the Stamparatus. So I'll do my best not to. Not too bad. Put my cardstock just in the corner there, and at least using the Stamparatus, if I haven't done it properly, I have got a second chance at it. And that's come out fine. But I did manage to stick the corner in the green while I had it open, so it would have to happen somewhere. And then I'm just going to use a wet one or a wipe, whatever you might call it, in whatever country you're in. And just do that, dry it off, and then I'm going to use my embossing buddy and some Versamark ink. Close up these other stamp pads. And I'm going to use my Versamark. And just give that a good press down. And then I'm going to take that out and use some embossing powder on that. This is the clear embossing powder. Always try and do that on a sheet of paper too, just so that you catch anything that you might have spilled, because we don't want to waste it. I hate wasting anything. I have little plastic containers full of scraps of paper, all in different colours, just so I can have something like this that I can pull out some paper from whenever I want it. Okay, now just a quick moment with the embossing gun. I very rarely do anything with clear embossing powder because I just don't sort of think about it as a rule. But it actually looks really nice when you emboss the colours like this. Gives it a lovely shine. See there? And I do really like it, but I often don't think to do it. You know, you put those things out of your head at times. That's what I do. And then all I did was just trimmed it down. Just get that in the right spot. So, across there. My cutting blade isn't the greatest tonight, so it's going to be a little bit awkward. Hopefully I'll get some in that last shipment that's coming or is in. I have to remember to order them on the day that opens up. And then that side. And then all I did was I grabbed my corner rounder and I decided to do that. On the corners. It's a tiny one to do in there, but it sits in there fine. And last corner. There we go. And that bit's done as well. Now it's just a matter of putting it all together. You can see how quick and easy this card comes together. Make sure I've got the card the right way around. I have done that before. Just done it and put it on the... Oh no, I put it on the back, not the front. My fault for not checking though. Now as I say, I've made this border just a little bit smaller than the one on the previous card, about 1/16 of an inch smaller. Just wanted to see what it came up like. Always experimenting with things. Okay, that's that part of it. Then we're going to work out where our peacock goes, make sure we leave enough room for our sentiment. Okay, so a bit of glue on here. Being this thick, it's quite easy to put the glue on too. You don't have to fuss too much with it, so I think that's another good thing about doing it this way. Okay, so I'm going to set my peacock about there. Just set that down. Okay, and then I'll pop some dimensionals on the back of this one. Just probably some of the mini ones will do. I'm trying to use up all my bits and pieces of things that I've got sort of lying around before I open anything else up. I have so much in the way of scraps of things that I put aside, and I do use them. I try and find cards to do where I do use them up, like with the Pacific Point. Actually, all of those peacocks were cut out of scrap pieces that I'd put aside just in case I had a project to do that, you know, suited it. Okay, and I'm going to sit that there. Hopefully that's straight. And then the last thing I want to do is get my rhinestones. Won't be a second. Okay, I found them. They were stuck to the back of something. And I used the greeny coloured one, greeny yellow one here, just to offset the granny apple green, just in those corners. Bling it up a little bit. Like that. And then I put these, I suppose you'd call them like a jade blue, really. I decided to put just a couple on here in threes. And there it is. I do think, I haven't done the inside of this one, and I'm sort of contemplating whether I will do it with a light shade of the colours that I've used on the front here on a white sheet in here, and then do a sentiment on it. And I think I might do that. Now, if you have a look at that, you can see which one you like better, whether you like the slightly wider border or the, I'll just move that, my overhead lights are not making that too easy to see. And this one's got the smaller border. But anyway, that's just a quick and nice, easy little card to do with that Peacock stamp set. And I hope you have a go at it, because it makes a nice little card, and it's using something different, using some different colours. And I don't see why. I know peacocks are these blues and things, but you could have a bit of fun with it and make it any colours you wanted to. Now, if you don't have a demonstrator and you would like to get any of these products, please visit my online store, which I will list below, and have a look around in there, and you'll find this stamp set, and you'll find all sorts of other things that go with it. And there's everything in there that you might possibly need or want, and please have a good look. Thank you to those people who have subscribed to my channel. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love it if you did. I really enjoy sharing my cards, and I look forward to doing another one next week. So everybody have a wonderful week, have fun creating, and I'll be back again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.